Alright, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you a demonstration on how to factor quadratic expressions with a leading coefficient other than 1. So we can see in this quadratic expression our leading coefficient is a 2. Now, first of all, before we start factoring anything else, let's look to see if these terms have a greatest common factor. Is there anything that we can divide 2, 7, and negative 15 by? Doesn't look like there is, so let's begin factoring. Our first step when we're factoring quadratic expressions with a leading coefficient other than 1 is we multiply our leading coefficient by our last term. So our 2 multiplied by our negative 15 is going to give us negative 30. Next, we want to find two factors of negative 30 that will add to be our positive 7, which is our middle term. So, what are two factors of negative 30 that add to be a positive 7? Well, it's pretty easy. We have a negative 3 and positive 10. Now, if that doesn't work out for you at first, you don't automatically see that pair, you can go through and write some of your factors of 30. You can do 30 and 1, 2 and 15, 6 and 5, and eventually you'll end up finding this pair. And the way you know which one is negative is because we want to get a positive 7, so we know that we want our 3 to be negative and our 10 to be positive, because negative 3 plus 10 is going to equal 7. So, what our next step is I'm going to rewrite this expression as 2x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 15. Sorry, I'll erase that part. So 2x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 15. Now, what we're going to look at is we're going to take this first pair, 2x squared minus 3x. What we're trying to find is the greatest common factor of 2x squared and negative 3x. We can see that we can take an x out of there. So we know that the greatest common factor of this pair is x. Now, let's focus on our 10x minus 15. What's the greatest common factor of 10x and negative 15? You can see that that's going to be a positive 5. So that's going to be our first pair. Now our second pair is what we're going to be left with inside. So we know that 2x squared and 3x, when we take out an x, we factor that out, it'll cancel out this squared and it'll cancel out that x. So we'll have 2x minus 3 as our second term. Now you'll know that you've done this right if you get the same pair, 2x minus 3, when you factor the 5 out of this second pair of numbers. So when we factor 5 out of 10x, we're left with the 2x. And when we divide our negative 15 by our 5, we'll have a negative 3. So we can see we'll get 2x minus 3 for this second pair as well, which means that we've done this correctly. And this is our final answer. So now let's look at another example. This time we have negative 9x squared plus 3x plus 42. So the first thing we need to look for, as always, is the greatest common factor of all three of these terms. We can see that negative 9, 3x, negative 9x, 3x, and 42 are all divisible by negative 3. The reason why we want to choose a negative 3 rather than a positive 3 is because we never want to be left with a negative number as our coefficient of the x squared. So when we factor out a negative 3, we'll be left with 3x squared minus x minus 14 divided by negative 3 is going to be negative 14. So our next step, of course, is to multiply our 3 by our negative 14. So when we do that, we'll get a negative 42. Now we need to find two factors of our negative 42 that will add to be negative 1, because we know that this negative x is the same as negative 1x. So what are those two factors? Well, we know that we have 7 and 6, which are factors of 42. Now which one of those would we want to be negative? We want them to add to be a negative 1, so it makes sense that we'd want our 7 to be negative. And we know that negative 7 plus 6 will indeed equal negative 1. So let's rewrite this expression now. We keep our negative 3 out front, and then we'll have our 3x squared minus 7x plus 6x minus 14. Alright. Now, let's focus on our first set of terms. 3x squared minus 7x. What is going to be the greatest common factor of 3x squared minus 7x? You can see that the only thing these terms are both divisible by is an x. So we'll factor that out. And now, let's focus on our second set. 6x minus 14. What can we divide 6x and 14 by? We know that both of those are divisible by 2. So let's put a plus 2 here. Now, when we factor that out, we know that 3x squared divided by x will be left with 3x. And we know that a negative 7x divided by x will be left with negative 7. Make sure that we bring our 3 down, our negative 3 down. If we did that right, we can divide our 6x by our 2 and get 3x, which is true. And our negative 14 divided by our 2 equals negative 7. So we know that we did that correctly, and this is our final answer. Thank you for watching the video. Please comment below what other tutorials you would like to see, or email me at freemathtutor@outlook.com. Thank you very much.